In this video, I'm going to give you a basic overview of the AKAI MPC Key 37. Check it out! What's up, my name is Matthew. On this channel, I'll do setup videos, tutorials, and overviews like this one. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. In front of me, I have the AKAI MPC Key 37. This is a standalone MPC with 16 MPC pads, the same type that come on the MPC 1. It has a 7-inch touchscreen, has 4 Q-Link encoders, so this gives you integrated real-time control. You have your data dial for data entry input. So there's plenty of buttons for easy navigation. These are the clicky buttons, the same type that do come on the MPC 1. The MPC Key 37 does have a 37-note key bed with aftertouch. It also has a separate pitch wheel and a modulation wheel, so you can have that real-time control over your synths. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to power on the MPC Key 37, give you a basic overview of what you may use this for and some of the features that are on here. And there's a lot on here, so I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but I do want to give you an overview in case you are new, or if you're coming into this from a different MPC, you can know what the differences are between the other MPCs and this MPC. So I'm going to power on the MPC so you can get an idea of what happens when you do power it on. You can see that it goes to this MPC load screen. So you get a nice welcome screen, welcome you into the MPC. The MPC Key 37 does have Wi-Fi, so you'll see this screen when you first power it on telling you to connect it to the internet. This way you can get the latest software updates. There's going to be other things you could do with the Wi-Fi as well, including downloading sounds off of Splice and downloading premium content. So there's an option to not show this again right here if you want to. Let's just go into this here. So once you go from that screen to here, you're going to see some demos that you can select. And you're going to see your empty project and user template. So for this example, let's just simply go into an empty project. And you can see when I go into an empty project, it brings me up to this sound page. And here on this sound page, you can see the 8 integrated synth plugins that you get whenever you do power this on. These are pre-installed in here. And that's one thing that is new with this MPC Key 37 is whenever you download synth content, you're going to be able to download synth content onto the internal drive directly. And there is a 32 gigabyte internal drive, and you're going to be able to download the premium synth content onto that internal drive. But pre-installed on here, you do have the Hype, Tube Synth, Odyssey, Selena, Mellotron, Bassline, Drum Synth, and Electric. So those are the ones pre-installed on here. If you buy this new and register it, you're going to get a code that's going to give you an option to acquire a premium plugin in which you can log into your AKAI account on the MPC Key 37 and download that. AKAI Professional also has a web store where you can purchase and download other plugins. But as a standard pre-installed on the MPC Key 37, these are the ones that are included. So on the MPC Key, we have something called sequences. And say you want to start a sequence, you can do that. You can select how many bars you want as a standard on here. For the empty project, it is at 4 bars as a default. But if you go into here, you can select your instrument that you want to use. So let's say I want to use the electric piano. So the electric's like an electric piano. Once you tap that icon, you can have the different presets. Now you can hear this is the electric preset. You could go in here and you have like the basic presets. Okay, these are just different categories of presets. And once you find a preset that you like, what you can do is push this button right here, main. That's going to take you to your main window here. As you can see, this top little section here is about your sequences. So if you want to make a sequence, this is where you do it. This is where you set your tempo. This is where you set the number of bars or measures. So if I want to set the BPM, I can do that here by tapping the screen. And I can use the data dial right here to go into this, use plus or minus, or use this directly. Let's say I want to set the tempo to 75 beats per minute. I can do that, push do it. Now the tempo is set. There is an integrated metronome built into this. You can see right here, there's a place for metronome. You could tap on there and turn it on. And as an alternative, if you want to turn on your metronome, you could press shift and then tap on the screen. It turns it off, turns it on. And this is where the buttons do come into play here. There are plenty of buttons for your navigation as well as the touch screen on the MPC Key 37. The MPC Key automatically labeled my first sequence, sequence 1. and I set the BPM to 75. We're at 4 bars here as a default, and I can use these plus or minus buttons or the data dial to change the number of bars. There's going to be multiple ways that you could do things in the MPC key. And I just want to go and show you some of these things just so you can get an idea how easy this is going to be once you figure out your personal workflow. I just went ahead and put this down to 2 bars as a demonstration so I can show you firsthand. If you wanted to change the name of this sequence, you could do that here. Let's say you wanted to make it your main sequence right there. You could change the name of that sequence. So you can have up to 128 sequences on the MPC key. You can have 128 MIDI tracks right here on this as well. As you can see, if I select the bottom one, we're at 128. And you can have 8 audio tracks on this as well. And then you can use up to 8 different plugins on a project at a time as well. You can see right here, this electric would be considered a plugin. That would take up one of the plugin programs. So you can have 8 different instances of a plugin on your MPC Key 37 in standalone mode. We're in here, we got our main sequence, and we got a electric plugin right here set up. If we wanted to edit the sound of this plugin, we just press edit. It's going to take us to program edit, and we can change all the parameters of this sound. You can see there's a lot of different things that we can change. Let's just keep it simple. Let's keep it the same. And we could go in here and play some keys. If we want to change the octave, you can see that we have 37 keys here, but if we want to access more octaves, we could do that as well by using the octave minus or octave plus. Let's say you want to go down an octave. Just push the minus button once, and it works exactly as you would expect. We're down an octave. So I'm going to play something very simple, just a couple chords to get a sequence going so I can show you what this thing can do. So I have my metronome on. I'm on 75 BPM at 2 bars. So if I press record and then play start, I'm going to be able to record right into this sequence, okay? Now you can hear, once I was done recording those 2 chords, it started over from the beginning and it went into overdub. So when it's in overdub, you can start recording notes on top of whatever you've already played, and it won't record over what you have already played. So after you have your first idea recorded in there, you could take a look at what you did. You know, you could go to your grid right here and you can see all the chords that you had played. Now, if you made any mistakes or if you want to get the timing correct, you could go ahead and change that here if you wanted. You could program new notes. Everything like this is fully automatable. You can change your velocity of your notes here. But let's go ahead and let's say we want to add some drums to this. What we could do is go to the load button. Okay, and then what load does is it brings us to our browser. Once we're in our browser, we can go into our different sounds that are pre-installed on here. So we have factory content installed on here. So if you go to drums there, you got all your drums. Now this is where you could find other sounds as well. If you want to load up your own sounds, you could do it from the browser here. Or if you have Splice, you could sign into Splice on your MPC and go into here and you can see all your Splice sounds. I don't have that set up right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick one of these pre-installed drum kits. And you can go through, preview them. You could preview them right here. Now, if you have Audition on and you have Warp on, it's going to actually warp it and try to warp it to the BPM of your project. Okay, so you can go through here. So you find a kit that you like, you could go ahead and load your kit up by pressing load. It's going to load it into your MPC and you're going to be able to pull up your program on the main mode. So let's go back to main. So we got our track here. This is our electric, so we can name this. So if we want to go to a new track, we could do it a couple ways. We could do it with our data dial. We could do it with this track up. You could do it with your Q links as well. On your third one here, you can navigate through your tracks as well. So as you can see, there's going to be a bunch of ways that you could do one thing on the MPC. So you got to decide what works best for you. But let's go ahead and go in here and go to our program right here with the 4 boxes. So that's actually going to take us to our drum programs. So you can see drum program right here. Our urban kit is right there. So we can use our 16 pads to play this. If you want to practice to the beat, you could do that as well. So you have options like that. Say you're not very good at the drums, we can use the MPC options. So the MPC does have something called note repeat. You know, it has time correction, it has a bunch of things to help you out. Now, a lot of people like to keep it unquantized. That's okay as well. But let me just show you how you can do this. So if you go to right here, it says note repeat. There's a couple things you can do. You can see under here, it says latch. So if I double press that, it's going to latch it onto note repeat, and you can see down here at the bottom of the screens, you have different time divisions. So if you listen now, all I have to do is hold the pad down and I get note repeat, and it's going to be directly on the grid, perfectly timed out. So if you listen, I could change the time divisions as well. And when I'm ready to record, I can press overdub and record this right into here. So you can see I overdubbed it. If I take overdub off, it's going to take that off. Now we have that in there. We don't necessarily need the metronome anymore unless you want it. But if you press shift and press that metronome key, it's going to take off that metronome. Then you can do other things like so say you want to use note repeat to do the bass drum and the snare, you could do that as well. So if you press shift and note repeat, it's going to latch it as well. So if you listen, everything's right on time. And whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and overdub. You can take overdub off. And there you go. You have your drums recorded to your electric. You can rename that track if you want so you could stay organized. And then you can move on to the next part. Let's say you want a bass. So we can go to the next track. So let's take latch off a note repeat and then go to the next track. We can go here and rename it bass. And then we can add a bass however we want. Let's go ahead and use a plugin. So if you tap right there, it's going to give you your plugins, again, your plugin programs. Now you want to add a new plugin program. So when you do that, if you press that plus icon, it gives you a new plugin so you can go ahead and have a new plugin. Let's say you want to change it again. You could go to your sounds, or you can go to right here and change your plugin type. Let's say you want your bass line. You can use the data dial to go ahead and select it. It's very simple to do. So now we have a bassline plugin. Now, if you do want to select a different preset or a different sound, you can do that right here. Or you can go to your sounds right there, go into your bassline, and you have your different banks of presets. Or you can go to your instrument edit here. Okay, and you can see that's your program edit. And you can change all the sounds here. You select the presets here, or you could do it here as well. Again, I'm just showing you multiple ways you could do the same thing. You can see how easy it is to work with. So let's say I want a basic sound and basic sine. So we got open sine right here. Now you can hear that high pitch sound. We can go down in octaves right here. So let's go ahead and go down in octaves. So if we want, we can go ahead and overdub a bass line in here. So let's go ahead and try that. Get the count in. Now you can hear seamlessly, you can add your bass line to it just like that. So let's add another part to this. Let's say we want to add another plugin to this. We can go to a new track and right here, press that plus icon. That's going to give you an extra plugin program where you can add a plugin to it. And again, you can go to your sounds and select one of these right here. So let's try a different one. I'm just trying to give you a different idea that there are a bunch of different sounds in here. So let's go to Selena. So if you listen, you know, we can go up in octaves. So we have a new instrument right there. You can see it right there. If we go back to our sounds, we can go back to Selena. We could pick one of the sounds here. Let's say we want like an ambient sound. We can go in here and try out some of these sounds. So let's say we like that sound. We can go ahead and keep it on the sound and record right back into here. So let's go ahead and overdub something into here. And again, if you want to see what you did, you know, you have your option to go into your editor here. And for whatever reason you wanted to change things up, like let's say you didn't like the timing of this, you can go ahead and change the timing if you wanted. Like if I wanted this to go like that, you know, you can edit the end of things. You can completely customize it wherever you want. You can nudge it. Okay, you can transpose it up or down. And as you can see here, it's all pretty simple to do. And if you want to name it, again, you can name your track. I like to name the tracks as I go. This way, if you go to your track view right here, you can see we got our electric, our drums, our bass, our strings. It's easy to see what we have right here. So it's pretty straightforward to go ahead and make a sequence inside of the MPC. I just wanted to show you how to do that. And if you wanted to save it at any time, you can go to your menu. And right here, you can go to save. And you can save your project right here. And then the first time you save it, it's going to bring up the browser so you can go ahead and save it into here. And if you did have something like a SD card, that SD card would show up here and you'd be able to save onto your SD card. So let's say I wanted to save it right here on my internal. I could do that. I could create folders in here. Now you can save it on an external drive like this and then bring it up later inside of your software if you wanted. So let's go ahead and show you how to do that. If I put this into the SD slot in the back, it's going to show up right there. So I haven't named it or anything. It's just one I found around. But you could see I have projects in here that I made. I made a folder already called projects. This is just an old one that I had laying around from 2021. But let's say I wanted to make a new folder in here. It's very simple. 2024 projects. You could go even a step further. February. And then now I'm inside of that projects folder, 2024 February, and I can save it right in here. I'm just saving it as the date because it keeps it very simple to stay organized. Just like that, and then you can save it. Basically, that's it. As far as saving your projects, you're going to be able to bring that up into the MPC2 software and then be able to add on to it if you want inside of the software. But this is a standalone unit, so you have plenty of options in standalone. So I just wanted to show you have the MPC workflow with a keyboard built right into it. So you can still record your samples and chop them up and do everything to that nature. You do have sample edits, so you could chop everything up. You could trim them, chop them. You know, it's very simple to do. So, you know, things like that are very simple to do. Let's say you wanted to compress this sequence. You can go back to your main, and if you go here, you could bounce this sequence to a sample. And then once you do that, you can go to your sample edit. So there's a button for sample edit. You can find that sample. So it's going to be under bounce main. So here we go. We could chop it up. So now you can see I got all the chops. I'm just showing you some extra stuff here. You don't have to do this. I'm just showing you that there are options with this MPC because you have all these options of the standard MPC workflow. So, you know, if you wanted to bounce certain things, you could even bounce it without the drums. So, you know, I'm just going the extra mile here. So let's say you wanted to not have the drums in that. You just go to your drum track right here, mute that out, go here to your edit tool, bounce the sample. You could bounce it again to sample, go to your sample editor, and boom, main one, you can see. So now you can get into like remixing if you wanted. You know, other things you could do, let's say you wanted to add an effect. You could always go back and add an effect on a track. So that's very simple to do. You could pick it like this. And let's say we wanted to add something to this to make it more harmonic, like flavor. So we could do that as well. Let's go ahead and solo this. Go back into our effect right here. So a couple more features is that there are 10 gigabytes of sounds and instruments from AKAI. I do want to mention that there are 10 gigabytes of sounds that are preloaded in here. If you go to your load, go to your expansions right there. Here's all the different sounds that are in here. If you just wanted to see the sounds, you would press that and you can see that there are a ton of sounds just already preloaded in here. All right. And that's the factory content right there. These are your demos right here. So these are the demos that are pre-installed that you get from the page when you load it up. You can see your demos are right into here. If you go to projects, you can see all the demos. You can see all the demos right there. So yeah, there's 10 gigabytes of sounds in here to get you going, plus all the plugin sounds. So you do have all the synths that are on board, the 8 synths. I didn't have to install any of these synths. They're already on board on the internal drive. So all these sounds are pre-installed, and I do want to say you do have your pitch bend over here as well. So if you wanted to, say, bend this bass, you could bend that bass. Another key feature is that it is a 2-input, 2-output audio interface, so you can use it for an audio interface for Ableton or Logic or any DAW. If you do install the MPC2 software, the MPC2 software is a plugin, so you can use the plugin, the MPC plugin inside of your existing software as well. There is a MIDI in and MIDI out. There are 4 TRS CV jacks, so it's basically extendable to 8 TS outputs with the breakout adapters, so you can have control over your modular gear if you wanted. There's integrated Bluetooth, so if you had another keyboard that you wanted to connect Bluetooth and it was Bluetooth enabled keyboard, you could connect that as well. You could sync it up with Ableton Link. And there are 100 onboard effects, as you can see over here. If you want to add some effects right here, if you go into selecting in, if you just take that off, if you look, there are all of these effects that you can go ahead and run. So if you go to menu, you'll see preferences. If you click into preferences, you got your activate plugins. So if you connect to Wi-Fi, you can log into your AKAI account. You can load your plugins that way through Wi-Fi. Here's where you do your Bluetooth. And then you have audio device where you could plug in a class compliant audio interface. So if you wanted to extend this, or if you wanted to use different audio interfaces inputs, or say your audio interface had a particular guitar input that you wanted to use, or a microphone input you wanted to use with phantom power, you could integrate that right here as long as it's class compliant. Splice integration right here. Again, you'd have to log into Splice, connect it over here. And then as I showed you, if you go to load on content, right there is your Splice integration. So you could load Splice sounds directly from the MPC keys in standalone mode. So that's an option for you as well. You know, I just wanted to give this information to you. It's a brand new device, so a lot of this information isn't out and known yet, so you can see right in front of you. So I would like to make more videos about the AKAI MPC 37. If you have any ideas, leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Maybe I or somebody else can help you out. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed my brief overview of the AKAI MPC 37. If you want, go ahead and click or tap the screen over here to take you to a new video. And that way we can continue this music making journey together. My name is Matthew. I hope you enjoyed this. Continue to make music, and we'll talk soon.